So you're an athlete and you're a student. The question obviously is, how do you do both? I have been amazed over the years, as I have spoken with lots and lots of athletes, that so many athletes feel like they have to make a choice between, on the one hand, being a student and on the other hand, being an athlete. And oftentimes it seems as if the choice that they make is to see school as the thing they have to do so that they can enjoy their athletics. And I totally get that. I mean, I've been a coach for many years. But my question is, why can't we do both? And I'm even going to go one step further and suggest that being a good student can actually improve your performance as an athlete. How so? Well, let's begin by first of all talking about what every good athlete understands, and that is the importance of concentration or focus. But because that's a difficult concept, I think, a lot of times for the athletes that I coach and work with to understand, I use a word picture. I call it monkey mind. Often when I do clinics and camps and that kind of thing, I on the first day will just get up in front of the athletes and just talk. On the second day, I like to talk about monkey mind because then I can make an observation. What is monkey mind? Well, your mind is like a monkey in a cage, not any cage, a metal cage. And under the cage is a fire burning so that as the cage heats up, the poor monkey, anytime it touches the cage, it shrieks and of course starts to jump about. More pain is coming for the poor monkey. Wasps will enter the room and begin to sting the poor monkey. And then as if that's not enough, somebody turns out all the lights so that, for example, the poor monkey is now in complete darkness, getting stung and getting burned, jumping about, screeching. Well, this is the mind of most athletes, unfortunately. It's also the mind of most students. I, for example, will often point out on day 2 of a camp that I'm doing, to remind athletes of the day before. Notice I will say the day before when I began to talk, I would make an observation, and the first thing that, for example, you had a tendency to want to do is to turn and start talking to your pal sitting next to you about some idea that I just made. And why is that? What you want to begin to do is to be aware of the ways in which monkey mind is at play for you. Of course, there's a simple solution here. Let's what we call free the monkey, right? That is to say, let's open the window, turn on the lights, open the window, let the wasps out, turn the fire off underneath the cage, and ultimately open the door and let the monkey out of the cage. That is to say, begin to focus, begin to concentrate. You'll never really be a successful athlete and student until you learn how to conquer monkey mind. This is a huge challenge for all of us. And the place to start is to begin to be aware of it. For example, the next time you go to a training session or practice, just kind of stand back and watch while the coach is giving instruction. Watch not the coach, but your pals. And notice the ways in which your pals are clearly not really attending or focusing to what it is the instructor has to say or the coach has to say. And notice monkey mind in them and then, of course, in yourself. When you find yourself beginning to lose focus, that is to say, struggling with monkey mind, remind yourself that you need to free the monkey, you need to concentrate, focus, and then get on with the job at hand. Now, I have a suggestion for a way to do that a number of my athletes over the years have used. We call it athletic training journals, and it's built on the idea that I discussed earlier in the book, jam writing. But this kind of jam writing is very focused specifically to the athlete and the athlete's preparation for the training session or the contest. I had a student athlete that came to me many years ago, and she was a very gifted sprinter, but she had problems right before the gun went off. Stepping into the blocks for her led to all kinds of nervousness, nausea. She could literally throw up, and several times did, right there on the track in front of the blocks because she was so nervous. Now, once the gun went off and she was able to take off, she seemed to do okay. She came to me and said, "Is there anything that you can suggest?" And I said, I think there is. And we began a process of suggesting that what she do is, before she does any kind, and I'm going to recommend this to you, before you do any kind of training session, sit down and jam write for 5 minutes. Be very specific about what it is that you want to accomplish in this training session. Notice how often, as an athlete, you just simply show up to practice or to training session and wait to be told what it is that you're going to be concentrating or focusing on for that session. I recommend, as I've been recommending in the comments on reading, in the comments on writing, in the comments on organization, that you take more responsibility for your own learning as an athlete, so that you will then write down specifically what it is that you want to work with. Then go through the process of actual training itself. In the process of training, when you find yourself mentally becoming a little unfocused, pause for a moment, reflect back on what it is you said before the training session you really wanted to concentrate on. That will allow you to be able to control monkey mind better. Immediately after the training session, one more time, sit down for just a few minutes and jam right again, reflecting on the training session. Only we are very competitive athletes, and therefore we have a tendency to be critical of ourselves. I always recommend that you begin with something positive. What one thing did I do well today in training session? Of course, you're going to get to not what you were really crappy at, but rather what do I still need to improve on. If, to go back to our conversation on jam writing, allow for that editor or that coach's voice, as I sometimes will refer to it, to stand down during this kind of writing. And begin with something very positive and tell yourself there's at least one thing I can discover that I did well during the training session. Of course, you can use the same approach as you get ready for any kind of a contest. Sitting down a few minutes before you go out onto the floor or the court or the pitch or the field, and actually asking yourself specifically, what is it that I want to accomplish in this contest? During the contest, there will be moments when you will begin to lose concentration. Concentration will wane, and again, you can reflect back. And of course, after you finish, it's not a bad idea to try to sit down and at least consider, what is it that I learned during the competition? Over a period of time, and I always recommend that you use your weekends to go back and to look at your earlier athletic training journals, you will begin to see your own development, your own learning happening through the course of your season. By the end of seasons, you will see that there is a certain kind of learning trajectory that has been taking place. Most of the time, we can't witness it because we have no record of it. Of course, it's quite remarkable at the end of 3 or 4 year competitive history to go ahead and read all of those athletic training journals and to identify the ways in which you improved and grew as an athlete. Allow me to recommend this to you. Try to use your athletics as a way to improve your learning, and I hope that athletic training journals can help you with that.